Alright guys, this is William from YouTube, and today I'm going to be talking about the Godfather Tactics. Now, I've been doing real estate business for about 7 years, did housekeeping business for about 2 years, and a whole bunch of other businesses. And where I really learned most of my advice is from an older gentleman, about twice my age, and I'll call him the Godfather. And an older Italian guy. He always guided me in business and how to conduct business. And he did this by giving me a lot of one-liners, advices that behind them had a lot of meaning. So today I'm going to give you those one-liners, those advice that he gave me, so that you too may be successful in your business. The first one is set up a system. Have everything written down for what your managers, your general managers, and what the tenants are expected to do. You want to set up the system in such a way that everybody knows how to play their part, that if you wanted to go on vacation for 3 months, that the business will still run because you had a policy book that all of them would follow while you're gone. Because the whole point of becoming rich is that you're able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Not that you just keep working at your business, stay at your business, and won't give yourself time off to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So he said, make sure that while you're building your business, you also want to build the back end, the policy manual, what the expectations are, so that you can go on vacation and enjoy yourself. So that was one of the important things that he wanted to tell me as my business starts growing. The next part is plenty of booze, plenty of food. And I noticed that whenever we met a new person, like a new contractor, a new accountant, or a lawyer, he would invite me over for a meal. But whenever he met this person for the first time, he always wanted to meet them at the restaurant and get them slightly drunk, inebriated, so that he could pick his brain at them and find as much information as he can, find out how their demeanor is, because he found out that's how you find out how the people really are, when you sit down and you talk with them. We never really had formal meetings, suit and tie, where we'd meet in an office. It would always be at a meeting at a restaurant. And I found out that whenever I meet new people, I always try and do that too. Meet them at a restaurant where you can sit down, talk, get to know them inside and out, and they're more likely to give more secrets about themselves when they're in a casual setting. The next one he told me was, William, you get one shot, one kill when you meet a girl for the first time. So don't take them to McDonald's or Motel 6 and think that you're impressing them with you going to these cheap establishments. What you should do is go to La Salvatore's. Take this $200. He gave me $200 in my hand and said, if you really want to impress this girl, take her to La Salvatore's. And I'm guaranteed that night that you are going to get what you want. One shot, one kill. And if you've ever been to La Salvatore's, this place is marvelous. Statues, monuments, buffet, the food, everything is just right. You cannot go wrong with going to La Salvatore's in Cheektowaga, New York. So, I tried it and it worked. So, you go ahead and try it and it worked. Any girl, 90% of the time, if it doesn't work, forget about that girl. The next one he wanted to tell me is always stick together. Now, if you ever done business with me, you'll find out that I can be kind of difficult to work with. And you see, the Godfather has come across a lot of different people. He has a lot of patience, a lot of commitment. And when I've done the real estate business, I've done it with friends, co-workers, high school friends, college friends, family members, and all of them have never seen it through. They've all have dropped midway. They did not have the commitment or patience to see it from a vacant house all the way to it being tenanted and collecting the first rent. After the first couple of months of doing the renovation, a lot of these people who were eager at the beginning to do the business no longer had interest because it got too hard for them. It was too stressful. Other things got in the way. But the Godfather sees the biggest picture. And that's what I saw when I was doing my business, is that you see it from the beginning to the end. You have to have that commitment. You're not going to make money in your first year. You got to wait second, third, maybe even 4 years before you see a profit. But then when you get to that stage, you look back and you say it wasn't that bad. So you got to remember that it requires commitment. Sticking together with your business partner to see it through. The next one is that he would like to say trust is the ultimate currency. Now, he'd always trust his contractors, his workers, until they screw him over. He only gave them one chance to do it, and that's it. Once you screw him over, that was it. He will cut you from the family line. You are no longer enjoying his benevolence within his presence. So most of his deals were done with a handshake. And a lot of the properties that he has given to me, he's given me loans on just a handshake. No paperwork, no paper trail, just a simple man-to-man handshake. You keep your word, or you keep your word as bond, because once you break it, that's it. You can never come back to me for another favor. So you got to make sure that trust is the ultimate currency, and only do business with other people you can trust. It shouldn't be something that's written down that you're expected. Those people should do it out of the kindness of their heart, to always have the empathy of what the other person is thinking of when they're doing this business. The next one he likes to joke around is, he would always say, a fart in the wind. He would always tell me that when I hire people, make sure that this is not someone that you just hire that's going to disappear. Demand that you get a 30-day guarantee, that they're not just a fart in the wind, that after they do their job, they just up and leave and disappear. No. They have to show commitment that when they do a job, that you will not have to look at that job again. That there was that guarantee, that 90-day guarantee from that person. No matter how big or how small the job was. Bill, Chuck, and Larry, whoever came off the street to come and do a job, they had to make sure that that job was going to be done right, and they would never have to look at that problem. That it would not just be some Joe Blow fart in the wind, as soon as he does the job, disappears, and then the next day that job becomes a problem and they have to send another person to do that job. So he made sure that it wasn't just a fart in the wind. Another thing he liked to say, too many chiefs and not enough Indians. He had to make sure that he was the man on top and all the information trickled down. That nobody was trying to get ahead of him. Nobody was trying to be a wise guy. He called the shots. And when you're running the business, you want to make sure that you are calling the shots and your subordinates are following it. That there is only one chief and many Indians carrying out the job of the chief instructions. And then that's also followed by this next thing he will also say. Too many chefs in the kitchen. When there was too many chaos in the business, or there was many breakdowns, he would say that it is time to trim the fat off the meat. It's time to get rid of the useless people in the business that are just causing chaos and mischief. Loose lips sink ships. So whenever there was chaos in the business, it was time to remove a lot of the people who are calling out shots that should not be calling out shots. Only one person should be giving out the instructions. Another thing he would like to say is, William, always push back. Which means, whenever someone came to him an offer on doing the job, he would always present himself as a struggling business owner. He never showed them that he was rich enough to pay whatever offer that they were offering. They could not just simply expect a blank check from the Godfather. He would, get the offer, think about it overnight, and then always counter offer. Always try and get a better deal, sweeten the deal, try and get something included. Always push back on what they offer, William. Always try and get a little bit more for the deal. The next one he would always like to say is fly under the radar, which means respect those in authority. If you owe the taxes, you just pay right away. If the police ask you to do something, you just say yes sir, yes ma'am. There's no point in fighting those in higher position than you are. Because the government, you see, has a wealth of resources. So always expect them to be in the right. They have a bigger stick. Yes sir, yes ma'am, do what they say and carry it going. You don't want to be out in the open. You want to fly under the radar so that nobody really notices what you're doing. You keep yourself quiet. Loose lips sink ships. Another thing he liked to say whenever he gets mad at me, he would always say, I wish I could fire you, but I can't. And you see, the reason why is because we were in a niche market for the real estate. And the knowledge that I have, not a lot of people had this knowledge. And that makes you very valuable to the Godfather. When you have knowledge in a niche market and you're the only person in town that can get it done, this is when you become very valuable to the Godfather. And he would always joke about this, that when I do a silly mistake, he would say, I wish I could just fire you, but I can't. But that didn't mean I can act a fool, because, he can always get rid of me. And he would try and find somebody else, but you can't just act a fool. Another thing is that he would like to say, if you want to be a con man or a con woman, play the long game. There is no get rich quick scheme. And he would always use the example of this girlfriend I had, that when she got mad one time, she took my tools and sold it to the pawn shop for a few $100s. And he would say, I don't understand these women that when they get mad that they would do something so drastic that it would get them to get kicked off the property. Because I'm sure when she did that, you kicked her out of the house. And I told him, yes, I did. Because that was totally outrageous. If she was mad, she could have just talked to me, spoke to me, and that was it. Because he said, you are providing her housing. You're taking care of her single daughter. You are taking care of her in, providing food. You're buying her things there. And I said, William, you're being a great guy. If she was smart, what she could have done is just, point that out that you did something wrong. And then if she really wanted the money, she could have just asked you for the money and just kept it going. Why would she do something so drastic? You see, if you want to be a con man, a con woman, you get married to the guy. You play the 10-year rule. You get the alimony. You get the child support. That is how we play the long game. And so quick, these women, a lot of them, when they get mad, they get so quick to just do something so drastic that they never get to that level of being married and doing the long game. Because he said that's really the long game for women. So that's what he was telling me whenever I was dating these girls, these ratchet girls that would do all these crazy stuff. He said, if these ratchet girls knew what I knew about William, they could slowly milk off of this cow, William, for as long as possible by just keeping their mouth shut. Another thing he would like to say is build up a war chest. See, the Godfather, he had a right-hand man and he also had a left-hand man. And he would always get them to fight each other on contracts. He would never let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. So he would always play games against them whenever there was a contract that he would get both of them to bid on it. And the reason why he had a right-hand man and a left-hand man is because they kept the prices low and it kept them honest. Because they knew that there was another person coming right after them when they made that offer to come and also give them an offer. Always make it look like they're not the only person in town. And you make sure you tell the contractor when you leave that I have another contractor coming in at 2. And see what they say. They sweeten the deal just so you don't have to go to somebody else. Remember, push back. You can always sweeten the deal, always get something included. Another one he liked to tell me is, William, you really should become vegetarian. And this is the one I like to debate the Godfather a lot on and tell him that I work in a nursing home for the last 15 years. I've only met 2 vegetarian elderly clients. The rest of them, were not vegetarians. And they all lived to be 80, 90, some of them even 100. And they would be out there smoking their cigarettes outside, still living to 80, 90 years old. So that's why I didn't really believe that, you had to be a vegetarian or a vegan to live a long time. And I always joke that with him that whenever he, takes me to these restaurants, these vegetarian, vegan restaurants to try and push me to become a vegetarian, that all those cooks in the back, I'm sure they're eating chicken wings on their lunch breaks. They don't believe in this vegetarian or vegan thing either. They're working because it's another job. I'm sure they're eating chicken wings in the back. Another thing he liked to push on is you're only a man when you have land. And he really pushed this because you have to be a man. You see, the Italians, they take home ownership seriously. Because home ownership is a sign of prestige, a sign of generational wealth. There's something you can pass on to your children. And that's what he pointed out, that, you see, black people should really take into consideration about generational wealth. They should not just think about the here and now. They should be thinking about the future. That when I buy this house, that I can pass this house on to my children. They won't have to pay a mortgage. They always have a place to stay, a place of refuge. And that's what I took away from this, that, that housing is very important because they knew that God was not making more land. So this very finite resource that is running out is something that we should all be taking seriously as a form of investment. And he used his uncle as an example. His uncle came from Italy with only a few dollars in his pocket. He worked from sun up to can't see in the morning to can't see at night. He would walk all the way to work and walk back while his co-workers would take the bus. He saved every penny and put into buying land. Now he is 90, 80 years old. He's looking back at all the wealth that he has generated because all this property that he bought was in Woodbridge and Toronto, and I'm talking about acres of land. While he had these acres of land, he became the richest person in Babylon. While they were laughing at him walking to work and walking back, he is now having the last laugh. And even when his son wanted to get some land to buy a house, he offered some of his land, and he, at 90 years old, got on the tractor and was building his house while his son was out there working. Now you see, his son will not come across a mortgage lender. He will have a house that is paid off. He can spend that money on going on vacation, spending on his children's education. You see this generational wealth? I want to give you another example. I used to work in this nursing home. It was owned by a family, not owned by a corporation. You see, the father was an accountant and the wife was a nurse. And they decided that they were going to start this nursing home. And they became very wealthy. But their children, I don't know, they didn't force, I guess, education upon them. And when they came to high school, they all became, high school dropouts. They were just enjoying all of the money. They thought they didn't need to go to school. And when the mother and father became elderly and they were ready to pass on the company to their children, they did not have the tools, the skills, the knowledge to run this business. And that business went bankrupt within 5 years. So you see, also, you have to invest in the children. And that's why with all this excess money not going to mortgages and taxes and all these rebates, capital tax, it went straight into their children so that they would learn the skills to carry on their business long after the families have passed away. Another thing that he told me is he would always say, "Can I get it on barter?" Now, a lot of people will not notice that there is a secret networking group online. And what they do is they barter for online currency. Some examples are via trade or the business exchange. Now you will see that in these online exchange groups, it really has nothing to do with barter. It's a form of networking. Everybody would post their business on there. You would have about 1,000 members on there. One's an accountant, one's a lawyer, one's a contractor, one's a plumber. And all of these people would network amongst each other by providing their services for barter dollars. And those barter dollars were used to buy services on other people on the exchange. And the reason why they would do this is because when you're part of that exchange, you are not allowed to misbehave with anybody else on that network when you did a job, because the person that owned that business exchange could always remove that person from that barter system. So you create a close-knit group of like-minded people that are serious about their business, and you will never see people on that barter system go to Kijiji or Craigslist to find some random guy to do a job for them. No, they would go on that barter exchange and find a person with those skills to do the job, because they knew that person was already vetted by other people on the exchange, that they could always call other people that have used their services and ask how was their job. And if it was terrible, they would just remove you. You'd be out of there. So that, you see, there's an online networking group that people do not see. And this is very important when you're running a business. It's kind of like Angie's List, but in a close-knit group. Another thing he would like to say is forget about it. He said, don't sweat the small stuff. Because the small stuff, if you waste a lot of time and effort, become very expensive and very taxing on the body. So one example in my time is the Godfather. He sent me to an auto dealer that he knew. And, I bought a minivan from that auto dealer. I took the minivan, I drove it all the way to Buffalo, and as soon as I got to Buffalo, I picked up my girl, and then when I picked up my girl and she hopped in the car and I tried to turn it on, the car died on me. This was so, as you would say, the Nigerians would say, this is so embarrassing. Hey, whoa, this is so embarrassing. I picked up this girl and, I had to send her back home. I said, this is crazy. So I called the Godfather and I told him what happened. He said, okay, you know what you do? Go to Walmart, take the bus down to Walmart, buy a new battery, put it in, and I'm sure there's something wrong with the battery. It probably wasn't charged because it was sitting out for so long. I'm sure that's just a problem. Go ahead and do that. So I went to Walmart, bought the battery, put it in, started the car, and I started driving. I was like, all right, this is good. I called the girl, she was still in her house after 2 hours. She wasn't doing anything else, so I called her, went back in the car, we drove. I took her out, ate a meal, and then all of a sudden the car starts stalling at the intersection. Oh boy, this again is so embarrassing. The car stopped. And I called the Godfather. And I said, look, I put a new battery. It died on me again. I'm here at the intersection. The police wants to tow my car. He said, okay, don't worry. Don't worry. Just let me call the tow truck company and I'll pay for the tow. Sure, this is a simple misunderstanding. So they take it to the mechanic and, and the mechanic says, well, we're going to put a new alternator if you already put a new battery. I'm sure that's just a problem. Puts in the new alternator. I got the new battery. I'm driving. Here I go. I'm driving. And then it cut out on me again. I said, man. I called the Godfather and I said, your guy needs to do something about it right now. And he said, William, you are in Buffalo right now. I can't do anything about that. You know what you'll do? Take the car to AutoZone, charge the battery. And when you get that battery charged, you take one trip all the way back to Woodbridge. Do not stop the car for any reason at all. So I take the car to AutoZone, I charge it, I drive all the way through the border guard, I leave the car on, hoping that I don't get inspected. I didn't get inspected because that would require me to turn the car off, and then my car would have just died there. And if that happened, I would have just abandoned that car right at the at the border guard and just make a run for it after. I'll just tell them, you guys can just tow it, take the car. But they didn't ask for any inspection. I kept going, drove all the way to Woodbridge, took it back to the auto dealer. I was so mad. I said, you better take this car back. This is crazy. I want my money back. So I take the car back, and I spoke to the Godfather. He picked me up and he said, don't worry about it. You can stay here the night at my house, and I'll make sure that everything is okay. I'm sure this is just a simple misunderstanding. So he gives me one of his car. The Godfather says, here, take my car, And then you go back to Buffalo, take care of what you need to. After, I'm sure, about a week or two, you'll probably get the minivan, be no problem. A week or two passes by, a month passes by, 2 months passes by. I don't get any word. I call the Godfather and I say, have you heard anything? I said, oh, let me call the mechanic and I'll call him and I'll call you right back. He said, oh, they're still working on it. That time I was mad and I said, I think he's playing the Godfather for a fool. So you know what I did? I jumped the gun. Instead of telling the Godfather what I was going to do, I sent court papers to the mechanic. Didn't think anybody, because I thought I was in the right. I spoke to my friends and they said, man, this is a lemon. This is a total bozo. You need to do something about it. So I go ahead, send a strong letter, the court papers. Next morning, 6 a.m., Godfather calls me. William, that was not very nice, what you did there. Now you started some ruffles in the family. I had to try and do some damage control. They were almost done with the car. They're ready to bring it out for you. And now, once he sees these court papers, I don't know, he got so mad that he just destroyed the car. And he said he's not doing nothing about it. And he didn't want to talk to me anymore. And from then on, I thought maybe I did something wrong. He said I should have just forgotten about it. It was something so small. If it was something so big, the Godfather would have just gave my money back. But because over a few $1,000s, I wanted to stir the pot, jump the gun, and he said that's not how we do it in the family. We don't go to court and try and go one after the other. We make sure we fix it inside the family first. And if it gets that bad, then we go outside the family. Maybe if nothing happens after a year, but you're going crazy after 1 or 2 months, you have my car for the last 1 or 2 months to show in good faith that we're solving the problem and to exercise patience. Now I gotta do some damage control. I gotta try and make sure I can keep the good mechanic that I've had for the last 10 years. And he was very mad, the Godfather. And the last thing that he told me about is, when you hire these people, are they detail oriented? And you see, when he means detail oriented is, sure, everybody will do the job, but will they provide something a little extra? Will they do above and beyond? Will they under promise and over deliver? So those are the type of people he was looking for. Because when I was doing my housekeeping business, and he wanted to support my housekeeping business, so he said, send me a housekeeper, and if things go well, then we'll hire you and we'll pay you. He was going to pay me above what I was charging. He said, we'll pay you $20 an hour. I know you charge $15, but we're going to pay you $20 an hour because I want to support you. So I sent the first housekeeper. He didn't like it. I was like, oh my, I really wanted that $20 per hour. So I told him, the Godfather, let me send another housekeeper. He said, and then we sent the next housekeeper. He didn't like that housekeeper. But I really wanted that $20 per hour. I couldn't pass up such an offer when I was only really charging $15 an hour for all the other jobs. After the fifth housekeeper, he was finally happy with the fifth housekeeper, because this housekeeper always left no crevice untouched. There was no spots on any spoon. She did above and beyond and got around even the toilet basin. She would go behind. So clean you could eat off the plate. And did you know, because that girl was detail oriented, the wife was so surprised. Remember, Italians take home ownership seriously. That this lady was detail oriented. I want only this lady to work for me. And because she does so well, I am paying the $20 per hour. And not only 4 hours, it'll be 8 hours. I was so surprised that when you do good work, that you will be rewarded handsomely. Remember, under-deliver, over-promise, and under-deliver. That is what they're looking for. They're looking for that bang, that extra thing. And that's all I gotta say. These are all the wise sayings that the Godfather has told me, and that I carry on to my business. I hope this was informational. The Godfather has told me that you should whack that subscribe button. You should hit that bell notification. Make sure that you like my video, or else if you want to know what the or else part, send me a text message and he'll tell you what the or else is. Capiche? And I'm out.